I've been doing this for 25 years, and I think I can say confidently that for those 25 years, I really gave everything I had every time I stepped foot in this ring. And in those 25 years, because of this industry, I've gotten to live incredible things and experience things I'll never forget. I've had the chance to take care of my family in a way that I could have only dreamed of. But there's a price to pay for that amazing opportunity, and that's the toll it takes on our bodies. Every single guy and girl back there has paid that price at different times, and now it seems like it's my turn.
If it's happening in professional wrestling, we're breaking it down. The matches, the moments, the rumors, and yes, even the hot takes. This is Pro Wrestling Focus. No nonsense, no wasted motion, just pure wrestling talk. Now, here's your host, Cody Springer.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Focus. I need a favor from you, but don't worry, I'm not going to hold it over your heads like CM Punk did to Paul Heyman. All I ask is that you share this podcast with your friends and family. I'd really appreciate it. Even if they're not wrestling fans, especially if they're not wrestling fans, maybe I can give them a little education on what pro wrestling is really about. Because let's be honest, a lot of people are just flat out uneducated when it comes to this business. They write it off as some fake sport. But here's the thing. It's not fake. It's scripted entertainment. Just like your favorite TV shows or movies. Now, I know some folks are going to hear me say that and immediately go, no, it's not the same. Well, I hate to break it to you, but yes, it really is. Let's talk about that Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton segment from SmackDown because, wow, that was a complete mess. There's no sugarcoating it. This is one of the most awkward, uncomfortable, and frankly baffling promos I've seen on WWE television in a long time. And what's wild is that it wasn't just wrestling bad. This felt like a shoot gone wrong. Now, there's a ton of chatter backstage and online suggesting real-life heat between these two. The word going around is that some of the dialogue in that promo was not scripted. According to several reports, Tiffany Stratton went off script, but only after Charlotte Flair went off script first. And let me tell you, she did not hold back. She told Charlotte that she wasn't the queen of shit, and then dropped that savage line about Charlotte being 0 for 3 when it comes to marriages. I mean, yikes. That was personal. That wasn't just promo heat. That was real life burn your bridge heat. But here's the kicker. Tiffany actually came out of this looking better than she has in weeks. Up to now, some fans were uncertain about how Tiffany was going to look at the end of this feud, but she handled herself with the kind of unfiltered confidence that made people stand up and go, okay, maybe she's ready for that spotlight. Meanwhile, Charlotte, she was all over the place. I'm honestly confused about whether she's supposed to be a heel or a babyface. She's been acting like the heel this entire feud, but then suddenly tries to play the sympathetic figure? It doesn't work. You can't switch lanes like that unless the writing supports it, and right now, it doesn't. Her delivery was also off. She kept pausing mid-sentence like she wasn't sure what to say next or like she was shaken up. And maybe she was. This segment didn't just feel messy. It felt tense, uncomfortable, and real. The kind of real that doesn't always belong on TV. It almost feels like Charlotte is trying to big league Tiffany, like she's treating this like her spotlight, and Tiffany's just lucky to be there. But it backfired. Tiffany didn't back down, she fired back, and now Charlotte looks like the one who lost control. Now there are rumors that there's backstage heat on both women for what went down, which I can understand. WWE doesn't love when talent goes off script, especially when it crosses into personal territory like this. But what I'm hoping, what I'm praying, is that this does not result in Tiffany being punished by losing the title at WrestleMania. That would be a huge mistake. If WWE has any sense, they'll keep building Tiffany. She's the one with momentum, and she's the one that fans are starting to rally behind, even if some are doing it just to spite Charlotte. Let's also not ignore the obvious. Charlotte Flair has been through a lot over the past year. She was out with a serious knee injury for over a year, the divorce from Andrade that went public. It's clear that she's dealing with some personal stuff behind the scenes. I think physically, when she returned at the Royal Rumble, she looked ready. But mentally, emotionally, maybe not. Maybe she came back before she was truly ready to handle the pressure again, and it's starting to show. This segment exposed the cracks. It showed how fragile this build has been and how volatile the chemistry is between these two. So now WWE has a choice. Do they double down and build Tiffany as a star, or do they fall back into old habits and hand the title to Charlotte again just because she's a Flair? Let's hope Triple H and the company make the right call. Because the smart play, the long-term play, is to ride with Tiffany Stratton and see how far she can take it. Let's talk about the major curveball we got this week regarding the WrestleMania card, because this one really sucks. Earlier in the week, reports started surfacing that Kevin Owens was dealing with an injury, and his WrestleMania status was suddenly in question. Then on SmackDown, general manager Nick Aldis came out, and the second that he started talking, I had a feeling something was up. You could just tell he was dancing around it, but the writing was on the wall. And then sure enough, Kevin Owens came out and confirmed it himself. It's a serious neck injury. He needs surgery. He's officially out of WrestleMania and will not be facing Randy Orton. Man, I feel for Kevin Owens. Not only does he miss out on what could have been an amazing match with Randy Orton, but missing WrestleMania, especially this close to the show, is heartbreaking. You work all year to get to this point, and then just like that, it's gone. Demoralizing. What made it even more emotional was when Orton came out, and he and Owens just locked eyes. No words, just that shared understanding. Owens walked to the back and got into the face of an obnoxious fan, which honestly, good on him. That moment was real. Then Aldis drops the bomb that with Owens out, Randy Orton now has no match at WrestleMania. And Randy, obviously pissed, drops Aldis with an RKO. Crowd loved it, but now the question is, what's next for Orton? Before we get into that, I just want to say, neck injuries are no joke. From what I've read, Owens was diagnosed with mild spinal stenosis back in January. For those who don't know, that's the narrowing of the spine, and while it's not uncommon for wrestlers, the pain apparently got worse over time. What's wild is that it wasn't one specific bump or spot that caused it. It wasn't the brutal Alabama slam that from Cody Rhodes on the ladder at the Rumble, or that unsanctioned match with Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber. It was just routine moves, normal wear and tear. That tells you how beat up his body really is. So again, speedy recovery to KO. He's got so much left to give. He's one of the most genuine performers in the business, and I hope this isn't a long layoff. Now back to Orton. He's in limbo, so what do you do with him? Some fans are speculating maybe he faces Nick Aldis at WrestleMania. It sounds like a stretch at first, but when you really think about it, it's not impossible. Aldis is more than just a GM. He's a former NWA World Champion, a guy who's got real in-ring credibility. He's been a player in TNA. He can go. And a match with Orton would absolutely elevate him in the eyes of the WWE audience. That RKO on SmackDown could have been the first seed planted. Other theories, maybe Orton gets added to the United States Championship match. Right now it's LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu, but adding Orton into the mix and making it a triple threat, that could work. That's a match, and Orton still deserves a big spot. If we're looking at singles feuds, the pickings are a little slim. Solo Sikoa, Braun Strowman, Shinsuke Nakamura, maybe. Or maybe WWE pivots and gives Orton something completely unexpected, like inserting him into a feud with the Wyatt Six, who are reportedly returning soon. Or even Rey Fenix, who just debuted. That'd be a fresh matchup for Mania. Bottom line, this week shook up the Mania card in a big way. Losing Kevin Owens is a major hit, but Randy Orton is too big of a name to leave off the show. Whatever they end up doing, I'm expecting we'll have a clear picture by this Friday's SmackDown, tomorrow night. And let's just hope the creative team gets this one right. Let's get into the biggest moment from SmackDown this past week, the moment we've all been waiting for, the reveal of the favor CM Punk has been holding over Paul Heyman's head. And let me just say, this was layered storytelling at its finest. WWE absolutely nailed it. So first, Roman Reigns makes his grand arrival 30 minutes before the show goes off the air. I mean, really? Must be nice, right? I wish I could have strolled into work during the last half hour and still got paid like the tribal chief. But hey, when you run the island of relevancy, I guess you make your own hours. In all seriousness, though, Roman was probably backstage the whole time, but I love the way they make his appearances feel like a moment. The pacing, the mood, everything is calculated. Roman walks in, Paul Heyman greets him, but Roman is not in the mood. Doesn't acknowledge Heyman, doesn't do the signature pose, he just storms straight to the ring, all business. Once in the ring, Roman cuts to the chase. Is Punk still talking about the favor? Is he here? Heyman says yes. Roman wants him out there, but instead, we get Seth Rollins. Now, Seth, being Seth, is just there to poke the bear. He wants to stir the pot, and he's got the smirk to match. He calls Roman delusional, says he doesn't live in reality, and the last time Roman stepped outside of his little fantasy bubble, reality smacked him in the face. And of course, he throws in the jab that Roman had a chance to stop CM Punk and didn't. Then out comes Punk, and man, this promo was so Punk. He tells a story about how during the dark days of the ECW reboot, When Heyman had a falling out with Vince and was ready to walk away from WWE, it was Punk who told him to stay, told him to fight. And Heyman promised him something that night. When you main event WrestleMania, we'll force them to deal with us. And now, Punk says they're not here anymore. And you know exactly who he's talking about. Vince McMahon, the old regime, the gatekeepers who shut Punk out. But Roman, he's still here. He is the system now. And Punk plans to force him to deal with them. Roman laughs it off, tells Heyman to let Punk down easy. But Heyman, with tears in his eyes, legit tears by the way, says, "I can't do that, my tribal chief." And boom, just like that, the emotional rug gets pulled out from underneath Roman Reigns. You can see the betrayal building in his face. Roman backs Heyman into the corner, and that's when Punk strikes, nails him with the GTS, and drops the tribal chief right in the middle of the ring. This was great television. We finally know what the favor is. It's not a stipulation, not a contract, not some weird legal loophole. It's loyalty. It's Paul Heyman. This is a man caught between his tribal chief and his best friend. The heart of the story is now Heyman himself, torn between two legacies, two powerhouses, two men who both changed WWE in different ways. And now he's being forced to choose. And at WrestleMania, that choice might very well decide the match. We've got three bitter rivals, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, and one wise man caught in the middle. It's personal, it's emotional, and it's everything you want in a WrestleMania main event. I don't know about you, but I'm 100% invested. Alright, let's talk about something that's been grinding my gears for weeks now. And now this finally official triple threat match for the WWE Women's World Championship at WrestleMania. This should have been fucking done 2 weeks ago. And we wouldn't have been running around in creative circles like a dog chasing its own tail. I don't usually drop F-bombs on this show because I like to keep things professional, but they really tested my patience with this storyline. So yeah, I had one loaded in the chamber. It slipped. My bad. Sort of. But yes, finally it's on. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. And let me be crystal clear. This storyline has sucked major ass. I mean bad. Confusing booking, half-baked segments, weak character motivations, the works. But here's the good news. The match itself is going to be fire. These three women are phenomenal in the ring. You've got Io with that high speed, high flying energy, Rhea bringing that powerhouse brutality, and Bianca as the athletic hybrid who can hang with anyone. On paper, this could be one of the best matches of WrestleMania weekend, if not the best. So while the road to WrestleMania has been a bumpy ride full of potholes, dead ends, and U-turns, at least the destination looks promising. Now, while we're on topic, let me just say something that I've noticed lately, and I say this respectfully. What is going on with how the women are dressing on TV? This isn't me being misogynistic. This is me being observant. On SmackDown, Charlotte and Tiffany looked like they just clocked out of their shift at a high-end gentleman's club lounge. Then on Raw, Io's out here in booty shorts, Bianca's in full leather gear, and Rhea, who usually is the edgiest dresser of them all, is the most conservatively dressed of the entire bunch. Now look, I'm not complaining. I'm not asking anyone to wear a cardigan and khakis. but I'm wondering if we're seeing a little shift in how the women are presenting themselves. I don't think this is a WWE mandate. Feels more like the talent have more freedom with their gear and their presentation. As long as it's within broadcast standards, go for it. But it's something that I'm noticing, and I'd love to know what the thought process is behind some of it. Back to the segment, the contract was signed, and the disrespect toward Io was palpable. Bianca and Rhea acted like Io wasn't even in the room. It was giving, "you can't sit with us" energy. And Io made sure to remind them both that she very much exists. That springboard dropkick she hit on Rhea, whew, that was stiff. Rhea went down hard and even bumped into Bianca and knocked her down in the process. I honestly thought Rhea might have been rocked from it. That landing didn't look pretty. But it seems like she's fine, but still, a wild moment. Now we've got one more week before WrestleMania. One more Raw. Can they give us one solid week of build for this match? One week where the story clicks, the energy is high, and everyone's roles make sense? I'm hopeful. Cautiously hopeful. But we'll see what happens. Either way, the match is locked in. The table's set. And it's up to the performers to turn a messy build into a classic. Alright, let's talk about the Jey Uso and Gunther segment from Raw, or honestly, the letdown that it was. I'm a little pissed off about it, not gonna lie, and I think a lot of people probably feel the same way, even if they won't say it out loud. Last week, they nailed it. They gave us something great. Gunther zip-tied Jey Uso to the ropes and forced him to watch as he just dismantles Jimmy. Turns him into a blood-soaked mess, wipes Jimmy's blood on his chest like some kind of twisted war paint. That was savage. It made Gunther look like a monster. It gave the feud the emotional, brutal edge it needed. That's the kind of heat you can't buy. That's storytelling fire. So this week I was expecting them to come out swinging, and instead, they whiffed. Gunther walks out in a suit, looking smug, ready to talk, and before he can even say a word, here comes Jay's music. Crowd's eating, but Jay isn't. He's coming in from the stands, dead serious. He hops the barricade, enters the ring, smacks the mic right out of Gunther's hands. And that's why I asked myself, why are we even doing a promo here? Let's keep it real. If someone zip-tied me to a rope and forced me to watch my brother get beaten into a hospital bed, there's no talking. There's no mic work. There's no eye contact. I'd be throwing hands. There would be a fight, plain and simple. That's human instinct. Jay should have been on him like a man possessed, but instead we get this quiet, emotional, almost PTSD-ridden Jey Uso. Now don't get me wrong, I respect the attempt to show psychological fallout. That's storytelling depth, but this felt misplaced. Jay's hands were shaking like he was in the middle of a breakdown, and while that might be realistic for someone dealing with trauma, I don't think that's the right beat here. This isn't a victim in a Michael Myers Halloween movie. This is a man with something to prove on the biggest stage of them all. This needed fire. Instead, we got uneasiness. And then Jay asked Gunther if he's got a mom. Bit of a strange pivot, but okay, let's go with it. Gunther doesn't say anything, but we get it, he nods. Jay says he talked to his own mom this week, and she asked him why he didn't protect Jimmy. Now that line had weight. That's real. That's the kind of guilt that cuts deep. But then we look over at Gunther, and man, I hated Gunther's facial expressions. He looked like he felt bad. Why would Gunther, the same guy who wiped another man's blood on his chest like a badge of honor, suddenly be showing remorse? That's not the character. That's not the Gunther we've been sold on. He should have been smirking. He should have been proud of what he did. This isn't a guy who second-guesses his decisions. This is a destroyer. And that kind of inconsistency just pulled me out of the moment. Jay ends the promo saying he's no longer afraid of Gunther, and that he's going to pray for the man he's about to become at WrestleMania because of what he's going to do to Gunther. And while the delivery was solid, the emotional punch didn't land the way it should have because the energy of the segment never reached the intensity that it needed. You had all this momentum. Last week was red hot. This week, cold. This feud went from warm to chilly in just 7 days, and it didn't need to. Here's how I would have done it. Jay walks out, no music, the crowd's still chanting, "Yeet." He storms to the ring and just blindsides Gunther. They brawl, chaos erupts, Jay's screaming, furious, unhinged. Gunther escapes, security pulls Jay back, and in the chaos, Jay grabs a mic and tells Gunther, "I'm going to kill you at WrestleMania." That's the fire, that's the vibe. The next week, Gunther gets his revenge and lays out Jay before WrestleMania to establish the final power move. Simple, logical, emotional, boom. Right now, I don't know. I'm keeping my prediction close to the vet, to my chest, but my confidence that Jay wins at WrestleMania took a hit after this segment. The match will probably be good. Gunther always delivers, and Jay's on a big singles run, but the build didn't hit the level it should have. One more week, one more shot. Let's see if they can salvage the energy and bring it back up where it belongs. All right, I got to talk about something that's been making waves this week, and that's Mickie James getting roasted online for her comments about Xena Sterling's ring gear. Now, if you missed it, Mickie was on WWE LFG, where she's a coach, and during the coach's review of Xena's match with Tyra May Steele, she made a comment about Xena's gear showing, quote, "too much ass," and that she lived through the Diva era, and that she, along with the other women on the roster, fought very hard for their opportunities. That's it. That's what she said, and somehow the internet decided she committed a crime against humanity. Now, I watched it. I thought the criticism was fair. I didn't think Mickie was being mean-spirited. I didn't think she was trying to shame Xena. I thought she was being a veteran, giving her take based on years of experience in the business. But apparently, to a certain section of the IWC, that was enough to bring out the pitchforks. People were calling her a hypocrite because she used to wear mini skirts. I even saw someone call her a subtle misogynist. Are you kidding me? Misogynist? Mickie James? One of the women who fought for women's wrestling to be taken seriously during the absolute trash era of Divas programming? Let's be real here. Mickie came from what I'll respectfully and almost very honestly call the tits and ass era of women's wrestling. It was a time when WWE was more focused on how the women looked than how they wrestled. Vince McMahon was running things like a late-night beer commercial. The women weren't being booked to go out and put on 5-star matches. They were being booked in bra and panty matches, lingerie pillow fights, and bikini contests. It was all about selling sex, not storytelling. That's not disrespectful. That's just facts. And let's not forget, even women like Trish Stratus and Lita, two of the greatest to ever do it. Both WWE Hall of Famers had to go through some really unsavory stuff just to get noticed in that era. Yeah, we celebrate their legacies now, and rightfully so, but people seem to have selective memory about what they were being forced to do back then. You know, Trish barking like a dog in her underwear, Lita being sexualized in every storyline from start to finish. These are legendary performers who had to survive in a system that didn't respect them as athletes first. So if Mickie James, who came up right alongside them, is saying, hey, maybe let's not revert to that kind of focus. She's speaking from a place of experience, not hate. That's not misogyny. That's someone who's lived through the worst of it, trying to make sure the next generation doesn't have to. That was the system. And yet, in the middle of all that nonsense, she still managed to carve out a respected in-ring career. She had real rivalries, she could go in the ring, and now years later, she's looking at the current product with a veteran's eye and simply saying, hey, maybe don't lean too hard into the sex appeal, because it could distract from the wrestling. That's not misogyny, that's perspective. That's experience talking. There's a certain segment of fans that just cannot handle any criticism of the newer talent, especially if it comes from someone who worked in a completely different era. They act like veterans aren't allowed to have opinions unless those opinions are 100% supportive all the time. Let's also not pretend like this isn't a complex topic. This is a gray area here. Should women be allowed to showcase their sex appeal if they choose to? Yes. Should they also be respected for their athleticism and wrestling talent regardless of what they wear? 100%. But does that mean that ring gear choices can be critiqued, especially when it affects how much the match is presented? Of course not. Mickie's not saying cover up or get out. She's trying to police, or she's not trying to police women's bodies. She's talking about presentation, about the balance between character and ring work and appearance. And if anything, her comments sparked a conversation that maybe WWE needs to have internally, because let's not forget, this is still the shadow of what Vince McMahon had. That sex sells mindset still looms, even if things have improved. Today's WWE is far better when it comes to how women are booked, no doubt. But this kind of discourse is part of the evolution. The women are main eventing Raw and SmackDown, sometimes PLEs. They're winning Rumbles, they're competing in Elimination Chambers, War Games, and Money in the Bank. That progress didn't come without criticism, without pushback, without women like Mickie James paving the way. So before we jump down her throat for one offhand comment, maybe we should remember that what she went through just to make sure women in WWE could be taken seriously. Bottom line, Mickie James has a right to speak on this. She's earned it, and even if you don't agree with her, calling her a misogynist for offering her honest opinion, that's just ridiculous. So, Drew McIntyre recently made an appearance on the Wafflin podcast. It's hosted by Joe Weller, Theo Baker, and Luke Martin. To be completely honest with you, I don't really know who the hell these guys are. I mean, I do know who Joe Weller is because of his beef with KSI from a few years ago. But I'm not going to dive into all that YouTube influencer nonsense. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. What I do want to talk about is the comments that Drew McIntyre made on that podcast, because that is worth discussing. Drew made a few interesting points, and one that really stood out was when he talked about the mentality of today's roster versus the guys who came up in the Attitude Era. He basically said that guys like Triple H and guys like himself would go out there and still work their matches no matter what injuries they were dealing with. He then said that some of the newer talent these days are, and I'm quoting here, freaking pussies. And no, he didn't name any names, but the message was loud and clear. He's calling out the softness that he sees in the current generation. Now look, that's a heavy word to throw around. A lot of people are going to hear that and instantly call Drew a bully or say he's out of touch, and maybe there's some truth to that, but then there's also truth to what he's saying. I think it's a generational thing because it's not just Drew who said this. The Undertaker said something similar a few years ago, and the internet lost its mind. People called him toxic, said he was gatekeeping, and all this other noise. But the reality is they're not entirely wrong. That old school mentality was built around grit, around pushing through pain, around earning respect by showing up no matter how beat up you were. That's the generation that gave us classics, like Mick Foley being thrown off the Hell in a Cell, Steve Austin finishing a match with a broken neck, and Triple H tearing his quad and still finishing a tag match with one leg. That's the mentality Drew is referring to. Now, obviously, there's a fine line here. We're more aware of the injuries today. There's better medical science. Concussions are being taken seriously as they should be. No one's saying someone should risk long-term brain damage for a 5-minute pop. But I think what Drew's saying, and I agree, is that the mental toughness, the fire, the refusal to be soft, that's what's lacking in some of today's talent. Wrestling is not an easy business. It never was. It will chew you up and spit you out and bury you if you don't have the mental and physical fortitude to push through the grind. And yeah, it is easier in a lot of ways to make it now. You can build a brand online, get noticed on YouTube, climb the ranks via social media hype, and when that bell rings, you're in there night after night traveling, dealing with pain, dealing with pressure, dealing with fans turning on you the second you slip up. You have to be tough, period. That doesn't mean everyone needs to be out here ignoring serious injuries, but does it mean that your attitude is going to be, I'm going to sit this out because I don't feel 100%? Then maybe this business isn't for you. Because guess what? No one's 100% in this business. You never are. And Drew knows that. He's lived that. So while some people online may clutch their pearls over his comments and scream toxicity or whatever buzzword of the week they want to use, I think Drew's just calling it like it is. He's not trying to tear anyone down. He's raising the bar. And honestly, some people need that bar raised because there's too much mediocrity being accepted today. Let me end with this. Grit isn't just about how many bumps you take. It's about how you handle adversity, how you fight through the storm when nobody's watching. And that's what separates the legends from the flashes in the pan. And if Drew McIntyre calling some people freaking pussies is what lights a fire under them, then good. Man, that's exactly what this generation needs. A few weeks ago, I talked about Saraya, formerly known to WWE fans as Paige, mutually parting ways with AEW. Now, she hadn't been used on TV in several months. And when that happens, you know the writing's on the wall. That AEW run never really lived up to the hype. Let's be honest. It started strong, she had that moment in the spotlight, but then it fizzled out, and she faded from TV. So the decision to leave AEW, I get it. It makes sense. She's a star, a legit name, a pioneer in women's wrestling. And if you're not going to use someone like that, then yeah, she needs to move on. Now, fast forward to right now, the rumors are already swirling that she could be returning to WWE. And the rumor mill really kicked into gear when WrestleVotes reported that she could return by July, which just so happens to be when WWE is expected to bring back the all-women's premium live event, Evolution. Now look, I wouldn't call WrestleVotes a top-tier source, not saying they're total BS, but they're not Fightful or PW Insider, so take it with a grain of salt. That said, this isn't some outlandish fantasy. There's actually a lot of smoke around the return of Evolution this year, and it's starting to feel like more than just fantasy booking. I haven't commented too much on Evolution coming back because WWE hasn't officially announced it, and I try not to jump too deep into speculation unless it's got legs, but this one, it's walking, maybe even jogging. And if Evolution does come back, what better time for Saraya to walk through that curtain again? Now, Saraya did an interview with WrestleZone where she addressed the rumors directly. She said, people think I'm going back to WWE or whatever, because there's this huge rumor mill happening right now, but I haven't spoken to them, at least not right now. I haven't spoken to them. She's made it clear that she's focused on her podcast. I think it's called Rule Breakers. She's focused on her businesses and life outside the ring right now. But also, she didn't close the door. Not even a little. And as a fan, I would love to see her back. Because let's not forget, her WWE career ended way too soon. She was forced to retire in 2018 after a freak neck injury. And when you think about it, she never got to compete in the Royal Rumble. She never got to compete in the Women's Elimination Chamber. She never got to be in a Money in the Bank match. She never held the WWE Women's Championship during the modern era of the division she helped build. She was one of the key players that kicked off the women's revolution. She was there in NXT before it was cool to be in NXT. She was the anti-diva, the rebel, the one who didn't fit the mold. She helped break that mold so others could walk through. So if she returns now, it's only right that she finally gets to reap the rewards of the division that she helped create. And my God, the matches we could see. Rhea Ripley versus Paige. Sign me the hell up. Bianca Belair versus Paige. Instant classic. Io Sky. Lyra Valkyria. Bayley. Tiffany Stratton. Alexa Bliss. Roxanne Perez. The list goes on. And then you look toward the future. Stephanie Vaquer. Julia. Jordan Grace. The potential is stacked. She could walk in, make a statement, and remind the entire world that she still got it. And let's not pretend the crowd wouldn't explode if she came back. Whether it's at Evolution, the Royal Rumble in 2026, or just some random Raw in the UK. That pop would be insane. She's got that connection with the fans. She's a real one. And in this era where fans are craving authentic stars, she's exactly that. So yeah, as of now, there are no confirmed talks between her and WWE, but wrestling is a business of timing. The door's open, the opportunity is there, and WWE would be foolish not to bring her back. Even if it's for one more run, one more story, one more chapter. So we'll see what happens, but if Paige's music hits in WWE again, I'm all for it. Alright, so I wasn't even going to talk about this, legit. I had my show rundown done. Finalized, wrapped up, ready to hit record. But then I sat back and I said, screw it, let's talk about it. I gotta throw my 2 cents in. Now, I'm talking about The Rock's status for WrestleMania 41. Now let's rewind. The last time we saw The Rock was Elimination Chamber. That night was wild. John Cena turned to the dark side, sold his soul, pledged allegiance to the final boss. And The Rock, Cena, and Travis Scott left Cody Rhodes lying in a bloody heap. That was the last visual we had of the final boss. Since then, nothing. The Rock hasn't shown up on Raw, he hasn't cut a promo, hasn't even posted an Instagram Reels promo like he did last year when he told Cody Rhodes, "Fuck your story." Just silence. And that silence, it's loud. It's leading people to start questioning, is The Rock even going to be at WrestleMania? Now enter Dave Meltzer. Oh boy, y'all know how I feel about Dave, the Wrestling Observer, Mr. Star Ratings. Look, I respect the grind, but let's not act like Meltzer is gospel. The guy plays 4D guesswork for a living, and then pats himself on the back if it gets anything remotely right. But anyway, Meltzer's out here saying that The Rock hasn't committed to WrestleMania, and that there's still nothing in terms of plans. Gee, thanks, Dave. What a way to state the obvious like it's insider intel. I could have told you that just by watching the damn show. Here's why I think. Let's cut the BS. If John Cena is walking out of WrestleMania as a 17-time world champion, and I'm not saying he is, but if he does, it's only happening because of The Rock. The final boss will be the reason. Maybe even with Travis Scott riding shotgun. Picture it. Cody's got the match won. He's on the verge of beating Cena clean. Fans are losing it. He's about to seal it. And then boom, The Rock's music hits. That arena explodes. Cody looks like he's seen a ghost. The final boss strolls up the ramp, and this time he's not alone. He has Travis Scott with him. Next thing you know, chaos. Cody's beat down again, just like Elimination Chamber. Cena's got that smirk. 1, 2, 3. Cena gets number 17, and it's because of The Rock. That's one direction. But if The Rock doesn't show, if he's out filming a movie or pitching Zoa Energy or a Terramana to aliens on Mars or whatever the hell he's doing, then I think Cody retains. He walks out still champion, and the big money match, the long-term end game, will be next year. WrestleMania 42, Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. We've had 2 years of build for this. 2 years. This has been layered, strategic, and personal. You don't build a story like this and then walk away from the payoff. Rock versus Cody has to happen, and you heard it here first. It'll main event WrestleMania 42. I'm calling it right now. I know it's crazy. We're a year out, and I think that's going to be the main event for next year's WrestleMania. But until then, Meltzer's just going to keep throwing darts at the wall and pretending he's got sources when really he's just writing what some intern texted him on a burner phone from catering. Don't fall for the noise, follow the story, watch the product, and we'll see how it all plays out. But if the final boss comes back, Cody's got hell to pay. Alright guys, that'll do it for this week, but before I sign off, I just want to make a quick mention. Nobody does storytelling like WWE does. That promo package they aired for Cody Rhodes heading into his match with John Cena at WrestleMania, incredible. The use of Last of My Kind by Shabuzi was perfect. Cody is the last of his kind, and that package drove it home in such an emotional, powerful way. It gave me chills. WWE knows how to hit you right in the heart when it counts. We've got one more week to go before WrestleMania. And next week I'll be dropping my predictions for both nights, probably in 2 separate episodes, so stay locked in for that. WrestleMania is almost here, and we're just getting started. See you next week.